The Alpha Twins. Chapter 4. Laced with Lies. That evening, the twins talked about Lionel until Octavia thought her heart might split open from the strain of listening. Cora was sprawled across the bed on her stomach, kicking her feet excitedly in the air while Nilo sat cross-legged beside her, quieter but no less captivated. "And then Father lifted me with one arm," Cora declared proudly. Nilo nodded solemnly. "He also beat 3 guards at chess simultaneously," the little boy declared with admiration in his eyes, obviously very impressed by his father's accomplishments. "That's because he's king," Cora informed her mother, as if this explained everything. Octavia forced a smile. Every word felt dangerous. Every laugh from her children carved deeper into the panic already growing in her chest. Because this was exactly what she had feared. They were attaching themselves to him completely. And Lionel, curse him, was making it impossible not to. When the excitement finally settled enough for bedtime, Octavia smoothed Cora's hair back from her face and spoke carefully. "We'll have to go back home soon." The silence that followed was immediate. Heavy. Nilo went very still. "How soon?" Octavia answered softly. "In few days, maybe a week." "So soon?" His voice was heartbreakingly small. Cora sat upright instantly, outrage flashing across her face. "What?" she demanded. "No. You can still write to him," Octavia said gently. "That's not the same," Cora snapped. "I want to see him every day." Octavia's throat tightened. "Cora, why can't we stay here?" the little girl demanded, tears already filling her eyes. "Why?" When Octavia didn't answer quickly enough, Cora shoved off the bed and stormed from the room. The sound of her footsteps echoed down the stone hallway. Octavia closed her eyes, breathed once, twice. When she opened them again, Nilo was still watching her quietly. Too quietly. Far too perceptive for a child his age. "Mama," he said carefully, "why can't we stay?" "It's complicated, sweetheart." A shadow crossed his face. "You always say that, but you never explain what it means." The disappointment in his voice hurt more than anger ever could. Then he slipped off the bed and followed his sister, leaving Octavia alone in the crushing silence. The next afternoon, Lionel found her in the library. She had been staring at the same page for nearly 20 minutes without reading a single word. "Cora told me you're planning to leave." His voice alone was enough to send tension spiraling through her body. Octavia closed the book carefully before looking up at him. "What do you want me to say, Lionel?" "I want you to explain why you're taking my children away." "They're my children too." He crossed the room slowly. "Octavia, don't." She stood abruptly. "You're engaged. You're marrying Emiline in weeks. What exactly do you think happens after that?" His brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "You'll have heirs. A proper royal family." Her voice shook despite her efforts. "And eventually Nilo and Cora will become inconvenient reminders of a past you moved on from." His expression hardened instantly. "They are my children. Nothing will ever change that." "You say that now." "Because it's true." "But what happens when you have other children?" she pressed. "What happens when your new wife wants her children first in line for everything? What happens when mine become secondary?" "Secondary?" he repeated, horrified. "I will not let them build their entire hearts around a father who might one day decide they matter less." Silence filled the room. Then quietly, dangerously quietly, Lionel said, "Then I'll end the engagement." Octavia blinked. "What?" "I'll cancel it." He stepped closer. "The wedding. All of it." Her pulse stumbled. "I don't want the life I built after you left," he said hoarsely. "I never wanted it. His eyes locked onto hers. I want my children. Another step closer. And I want you. The air vanished from her lungs. I never stopped wanting you, he whispered. Her heartbeat thundered painfully. It's too late. No, his voice softened. It's not. Red, please look at me. She did. God help her, she did. His eyes were dark with emotion, with longing so raw it nearly undid her on the spot. It's obvious that I have hurt you in some way, he said quietly. But if I had known what was wrong back then, if I knew what I have done. If you had only told me. Stop it, Octavia yelled. Just stop it. She could not bear hearing him twist the past into something softer than it had been. But even now, doubt slithered cruelly through her chest. What if she had handled things differently? What if? It's too late, she whispered again. Lionel's gaze dropped to her mouth. Her breath caught. Then, he kissed her. The world disappeared. 1 second they were standing apart, years of anger and grief between them. The next, his hands were in her hair and her fingers were gripping the front of his shirt as though she could not let go. The kiss was desperate. Hungry. 7 years of missing each other poured into it all at once. Octavia made a broken sound against his mouth and felt him shudder. God, he breathed against her lips. His forehead pressed against hers only briefly before he kissed her again, deeper this time, like a starving man finally allowed to touch something he thought he had lost forever. His hand slid down her waist, fingers flexing against her hip possessively enough to send heat racing through her entire body. Every memory came flooding back at once. His touch, his warmth, the way he always kissed her like he meant it, like she was precious, like she was his. Octavia tangled her fingers in his hair and pulled him closer. Lionel groaned softly into her mouth, completely undone by the contact. The sound nearly destroyed her. His lips moved from her mouth to her jaw, then lower to the sensitive curve of her throat. Breath hot and uneven. Her knees weakened. One of his hands slipped beneath the loose edge of her dress, fingertips brushing bare skin at her waist. Octavia gasped sharply. Lionel froze for half a heartbeat at the sound before his restraint visibly snapped. His mouth crashed back onto hers harder this time, rougher, filled with years of restrained need. The lace at the back of her dress loosened beneath his fingers. One tug, then another. Cool air kissed heated skin, sending goosebumps all over her body. Lionel, she whispered, barely recognizing her own voice. His forehead dropped against hers, both of them breathing hard. Neither of them moved. Neither of them wanted to. Then, she kissed him. She did not know who moved first. Did not know who broke first. Did not care. All Octavia knew was that suddenly his mouth was on hers and 7 years of distance, grief, fury, longing, all of it collapsed into nothing. The kiss hit her like a storm. Hot, desperate, hungry, familiar in a way that almost hurt. Lionel's hands tangled into her hair immediately, holding her like he was afraid she might disappear again if he loosened his grip for even a second. Octavia gasped softly against his mouth, and the sound seemed to break whatever fragile restraint he still had left. He kissed her harder. And God help her, she kissed him back with equal desperation. 7 years. 7 years of missing him. 7 years of convincing herself she hated him. 7 years spent trying to bury the memory of the way he touched her, laughed with her, looked at her like she mattered more than anyone else in the world. Well, it had all been a lie. Because the moment his lips touched hers, she was 23 again and hopelessly in love with her husband. It felt like home. His palms framed her face, rough and warm, and she opened for him without thinking. The sound Lionel made deep in his throat was completely wrecked. The sound sent heat spiraling through her entire body. Red, he breathed against her mouth like the name itself hurt him. Then he walked her backward until her spine hit the bookshelf hard enough to rattle the shelves behind her. Neither of them noticed. Books trembled. One toppled sideways somewhere above them. Still, neither cared. Lionel's mouth moved from her lips to her jaw, then lower to the sensitive curve of her throat. Octavia's head tipped back against the shelf with a shaky breath, giving him full access to her neck. She felt him smile against her skin. "God, I missed you," he whispered roughly. His hands slid down to her waist, fingers tightening possessively against her hips. The familiar weight of his touch nearly undid her. A broken sound escaped her throat, half sob, half moan. Lionel froze for one terrible second, like the sound shattered what little control he still possessed. Then his grip tightened. "Do you have any idea what you've done to me these past 7 years?" he murmured against her neck, voice rough with emotion. Octavia's fingers twisted into the front of his shirt. She should stop this. She knows she should. Should shove him away. Should remind herself that he had betrayed her. Broke her heart. But his mouth found that spot beneath her ear that he knows make her weak, and suddenly coherent thought became impossible. Every nerve in her body lit on fire. "Lionel." Her voice barely sounded like her own. He kissed her again immediately, deep and hungry, like a man starving to death. She felt the tremor that went through him when she kissed him back just as fiercely. That destroyed her more than anything else. It was real. None of this felt false. None of this felt like manipulation. It felt like pain, like longing, like two people who had spent years pretending they could survive without each other and had finally run out of strength. His hand slid up her spine slowly, fingertips brushing the bare skin revealed by the low back of her dress. Octavia shivered violently. Lionel groaned softly against her mouth at the reaction. Still sensitive there, he muttered, almost to himself. The intimate familiarity of the words made her chest ache. He remembered. After all these years, he still remembered her. His fingers found the laces at the back of her dress and started loosening them. One pull, then another. Cool air brushed heated skin as the bodice slackened. Octavia sucked in a sharp breath. If she wants to stop this, this would be the time to do so. She knows after this, there's no turning back. But she can't stop. She doesn't want to stop. Her whole body is under a spell that keeps her from doing what she knows is needed to be done. She wants this. She needs this. Lionel's forehead dropped against hers immediately, both of them breathing hard. "This is killing me," he admitted hoarsely. Her pulse hammered wildly beneath her skin. She could feel his restraint unraveling piece by piece. Could feel her own collapsing along with it. His thumb brushed along her jaw almost reverently before he kissed her again, slower this time, deeper, devastatingly tender. That somehow felt even more dangerous. Because this was not lust alone. This was love. Still alive after everything. Still capable of ruining them both. His hand slipped beneath the loosened edge of her dress, fingertips grazing the bare curve of her waist. Octavia arched into him instinctively. The reaction tore a rough sound from his chest. "Red," he breathed shakily. Her hands slid into his hair, tugging just enough to make him inhale sharply. The sound sent another wave of heat through her. He kissed her harder instantly, body pressing fully against hers now. She could feel the uneven pounding of his heart. Could feel how badly he wanted her. And worst of all, she wanted him just as much. 7 years vanished completely. There was no anger, no palace, no Emiline, no past. Only this. Only him. Lionel's hand slid higher beneath the fabric at her waist, his breathing turning ragged as he kissed her like a man losing control entirely. Then suddenly he stopped. Actually fully and completely stopped. Pulled back abruptly like he had been burned. Both of them were breathing hard. His eyes were dark, wild, completely wrecked. "Wait," he rasped. Octavia stared at him in confusion, lips swollen from his kisses, chest heaving with anticipation. He dragged a hand through his hair roughly. "I want to do this right." The words barely registered at first. Then he said quietly, "I owe it to Emiline to end things properly before we." The world stopped. Just like that. Everything inside Octavia instantly went cold. Lionel saw the change in her expression instantly, and suddenly the magic was sucked out of the room, leaving her crashing down. "No," he said quickly. "Red, listen to me. I'll end it tonight, right now if you want. He swallowed hard. She deserves honesty." Silence filled the spaces between them. Absolute silence. Octavia stared at him. It felt like someone kicked her in her gut. And suddenly all she could hear was the echo of another night years ago. Another woman. Another betrayal. Another humiliation. If you don't want to miss how this saga unfolds, please subscribe, like, and press that bell icon so that you will get notified the moment the new chapter drops. Thank you for listening and be safe out there.